The dark side of being the future Queen of Spain. The cameras caught it for less than 3 seconds. Not a speech, not a royal wave, just a look, a very quick expression from Leonor, Princess of Asturias, during a recent military appearance that honestly didn't look like confidence at all. It looked like exhaustion, and the reason people are suddenly talking about it online is because the palace immediately released polished photos afterward, almost too quickly. That's when I started thinking, what if the biggest story about Leonor isn't the crown she'll wear one day, but the price she's already paying for it right now? Because I'll be honest, I think people romanticize royal life way too much. Especially on social media, people see uniforms, ceremonies, luxury, perfect lighting, edited headlines. But they rarely stop and ask the uncomfortable question, what does it actually do to a person to grow up knowing their entire future has already been decided? And not just decided privately, decided publicly, by a country. That's a completely different kind of pressure. And lately, I think we're starting to see cracks in the image. Not scandals, not rebellion, something more human than that. Fatigue. And weirdly, I think that's why audiences are becoming more emotionally connected to her now. Because perfection is getting boring online. But pressure. People understand pressure, especially in 2026. Look around for 2 seconds. Everyone feels watched now. Everyone feels judged. Everyone feels like they're performing their life online. Leonor is just experiencing that feeling at a level most people couldn't survive mentally. And I don't think enough people talk about how isolating that must be. Because here's the dark side nobody says out loud. Future queens don't really get normal mistakes. A normal 20-year-old can disappear for a weekend, make bad decisions, change friend groups, date the wrong person, fail quietly, grow privately. Leonor can't. Every single phase of her growth becomes international content. And honestly, that sounds exhausting. If you're new to Leonor's story, subscribe, I post every day. Now what fascinates me is how differently royal families are handling pressure right now. You look at Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales and Britain, their entire strategy feels built around stability, familiarity, controlled visibility. But Spain seems to be doing something riskier with Leonor. They're exposing her to pressure publicly. Military training, long public schedules, constant scrutiny, formal responsibility very early, and I keep wondering, is this preparation, or sacrifice? Because those are not always the same thing. One thing I've learned watching modern royal families is that institutions often confuse strength with endurance. They assume if someone can survive pressure, then the system is working. But surviving pressure and being emotionally healthy are two completely different things. And honestly, I think Leonor understands that now in ways she didn't a few years ago. You can see it in her body language lately. She smiles less spontaneously. Her reactions feel more measured. Even when she laughs publicly, there's this tiny pause beforehand sometimes, like she's mentally checking whether the moment is safe first. And maybe I'm overanalyzing that. But I don't think so. Because people under constant observation eventually become strategic with their personality. That's the hidden psychological cost of monarchy nobody warns you about. You stop reacting naturally. You start performing survival. And before anyone says, well, she's privileged, so who cares, let me say this carefully. Money protects comfort. It does not automatically protect freedom. That's the mistake people make when discussing royals. Online, they assume luxury cancels emotional pressure. It doesn't. If anything, public privilege often creates emotional imprisonment. Especially when your role is symbolic. Because Leonor isn't just representing herself anymore. She represents continuity, tradition, national identity, political stability, historical expectation. That is an insane amount of emotional weight for someone still becoming an adult. And here's my hot take. I actually think the Spanish monarchy knows this generation will reject fake perfection completely. That's why the palace has slowly allowed more human moments around Leonor to become visible. Not scandals, just vulnerability, tired expressions, intense training clips, awkward public moments. And strategically, that's smart. Because audiences today trust struggle more than polish. It's the same reason creators like MrBeast dominate online attention. People connect emotionally when effort feels visible. And Leonor's effort feels visible now. That changes everything. But there's another darker layer here nobody wants to touch. Relationships. Can we talk honestly about that for a second? Imagine trying to figure out love while the entire country watches your body language during public events. Imagine wondering whether someone genuinely likes you, or likes proximity to the crown. Imagine every friendship becoming a headline. Every rumor becoming a trend. Every private mistake potentially becoming diplomatic embarrassment. That's not normal pressure. That's surveillance disguised as public interest. And I think that's why people are increasingly protective of Leonor online lately. Not because they see royalty anymore, but because they see a young woman trying to stay emotionally intact inside a machine much bigger than herself. Honestly, some of the strongest reactions I've seen recently weren't even from hardcore royal fans. They were from ordinary people saying things like, "She looks tired, she grew up too fast, she never gets to relax." And those comments matter because they signal something important. The audience is beginning to empathize with the human being instead of just consuming the royal image. That shift is massive, because modern monarchies survive emotionally before they survive politically. People have to feel connected first. And ironically, the dark side of Leonor's life may be the exact thing making her more relatable than previous generations. Now here's where my opinion might sound controversial. I don't think Leonor's biggest challenge will be becoming queen. I think her biggest challenge will be staying herself while becoming queen. That's harder, way harder, because institutions slowly reshape people over time. And military environments especially accelerate that transformation. Discipline changes posture, speech patterns, emotional reactions, even the way people process fear. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not. And lately, I've started noticing something else around Leonor. Silence. Not literal silence. Controlled silence. She reveals very little emotionally now. That's usually a survival mechanism. Public figures learn quickly that openness becomes ammunition online. So they adapt. They become careful. And careful people eventually become lonely. That's the part one think viewers feel subconsciously when they watch her lately. Not weakness. Loneliness. And honestly, that's the first time Leonor has started feeling less like a princess and more like a future monarch to me. Because monarchy is strangely isolating. You're surrounded by people constantly, yet trusted by very few. Everyone is observing you, advising you, managing you, protecting you, correcting you. But how many people are actually speaking to you normally anymore? That question keeps bothering me when I watch recent footage of her. Especially during formal events. There's a distance in her now that wasn't there before. Again, not coldness, awareness. Huge difference. And maybe that's the hidden transformation happening right in front of us. While the media focuses on uniforms and ceremonies, Leonor is quietly losing the ability to live casually. That's the real cost of becoming symbolic. Your identity slowly stops belonging only to you. It starts belonging to history. And history is demanding. Just look at royal families across Europe right now. Every move analyzed, every silence interpreted, every appearance compared against previous generations. The pressure never really ends. Which is why I think Leonor's military training matters psychologically far more than politically. It's not just teaching her command. It's teaching emotional control, restraint, composure under scrutiny. And honestly, that can become dangerous over time too. Because when people become too emotionally controlled, they sometimes forget how to relax completely. That's why I think the darkest side of Leonor's future isn't public criticism. It's emotional isolation. The possibility that one day she wakes up realizing she has become excellent at representing herself, without remembering how to simply be herself. And maybe that sounds dramatic. But look carefully at history. Many royals didn't struggle because of the crown itself. They struggled because they slowly disappeared underneath it. That's the part people forget. And weirdly enough, I think Spain sees this tension happening in real time now. That's why public conversations around Leonor feel more emotional lately instead of purely ceremonial. People aren't just watching a future queen anymore. They're watching someone carry the emotional weight of becoming one. And honestly, I think that's why her story keeps pulling people in. Because beneath the uniforms, titles, and palace strategy, there's still a young woman trying to figure out who she is while the world watches her become someone else.